Great Yarmouth has seen the best and the worst of British history. After being bombed heavily in both World Wars, the town flourished during the post-war Renaissance, boosted by tourism and a thriving fishing industry. But with the advent of cheap flights abroad, Yarmouth, like so many English coastal towns, has faded. Now, amid a rising sense of dissatisfaction with politics as usual, it is set to be one of the key battlegrounds of the 2015 UK general election.
But it's in places like this, up and down the east coast of England, from where Ukip hopes to make its breakthrough into the political mainstream for good. For decades now, the major two parties have been fading in their dominance, to the point at which now, for the first time ever, neither Labour nor the Conservatives manages to outpoll all of the smaller parties put together. But where Ukip have succeeded where so many minor parties failed before them, is to build a bastion of local support, a home territory from which to attack the other parties in their own strongholds. And it is no surprise that here in Great Yarmouth and towns like it that have seen so much change over the past few decades, that people are looking for alternative political ideas.
UKIP used to be strongest in the southwest, where many of its activists were based, but since 2010 the party's really targeted those economically struggling areas of East England. You can really run your finger down from places like Great Grimsby through to Clacton and then round to Essex and along the south coast into Portsmouth. So if you look at seats like Great Yarmouth, Castle Point, Great Grimsby, Clacton and also the Medway towns, that really is now the heartland of UKIP's revolt.
Buoyed by a surge of anti-politics, anti-immigration and anti-Europe feeling among voters, UKIP has emerged as a major player in British politics. But its support tends to be flakier than that of other parties, and at the last election it won just 3% of the vote. Key to achieving a better result this time will be their strategy in places like Great Yarmouth, where Alan Gray is taking on the Tories, the party he used to represent as a borough councillor.
UKIP as a branch in this area, we're not a professional operation, we're just ordinary people, but we're learning to become better at what we do. We haven't got the resources of the other parties, but yeah, we're getting there.
UKIP's leader Nigel Farage has talked of the party as the People's Army. But in places like Yarmouth, that army seems positively sleepy, happy to sit back and riff on the theme of wider anti-politics feeling.
We don't knock on doors. I know a lot of people do. How do we communicate? That's a good one. It's just like someone started humming a song and everyone started to sing it, you know, and it's travelled that way. It's a political cottage industry, without a doubt. Love to see you again, mate. Yeah. There you go. Cheers, Luke.
Sharon Clifton-Brown knows all about cottage industries. Several times a week, she and her friends gather at her haberdashery in central Yarmouth to knit, and often to complain about what they see as the poor state of the town.
I think people are frustrated, people are upset, and I think that they now turn to people that are saying the right things. If I was given the option of having to vote Labour so the Conservatives don't get back in, I think I would still vote either UKIP or Green now, because I don't care, I don't believe them. I think they talk a good talk. As I said, I've never seen any of them. They don't listen to my needs because they don't ask my needs.
If voters want to unite behind an anti-UKIP movement though, they face a dilemma over which party to vote for. One of the reasons that Great Yarmouth is such a good prospect for the anti-EU party is that it is a rare, genuine three-way marginal. Recent polling by the Conservative peer Lord Ashcroft shows that the Conservatives are in the lead, but only by 1 point ahead of UKIP, and UKIP in turn is only 4 points ahead of Labour. The mainstream vote, therefore, is split evenly down the middle. UKIP faces a good chance of coming straight through.
The UKIP cause is also helped by the fact that the incumbent Conservative MP, Brandon Lewis, is a minister, which often keeps him out of the constituency and meant he was unable to give us an interview. Mr. Lewis will hope that a generally improving economic picture will help him hold on to his seat, as well as the advantage of being a one-term MP, which research suggests could add several percentage points onto his vote. Someone who is willing to give the Conservatives the benefit of the doubt is Colin Abbott, manager of the Atlantis Arcade on Yarmouth seafront, which has had to survive and adapt as tourists have chosen to go abroad.
Arcades are still all working and taking money, but not like they used to years ago. I've been voting Conservative for years, rightly or wrongly, but that's where I stand with it sort of thing, and it's always sort of seemed me okay. So I can't grumble, really.
Labour, which held the seat until 2010, has a slightly different approach. Instead of trying to beat the anti-politics mood, its candidate Lara Norris plans to surf it. She has branded her supporters Lara's Army, a deliberate echo of Mr Farage's own slogan, and is telling voters that she offers something different. She believes her message is getting through.
Just before Christmas, I think we would have said that, that UKIP were doing well in all areas. Although since the new year, that's really turned around, and we're finding a lot of people who voted UKIP previously who aren't going to anymore.
Her real advantage over UKIP, however, is not any anti-politics credentials, but the professional operation she has built around her. Every afternoon, volunteers gather in her office to knock on doors or telephone voters. It is a well-funded campaign, helped not least by money from former Liberal Democrat donor Lord Oakeshott, and it is comprehensive.
We go out every day, we go on the phones every day, we go out twice a day over the weekends, and we have been doing for years. So last year, for instance, we spoke to just shy of 25,000 people in the constituency. Already this week we're looking at hundreds.
And that grassroots campaign is seeing some benefits, even if Ed Miliband, the party leader, is not popular among all Labour supporters. Manuel Mendonça moved here from Portugal 12 years ago. Like many in his community, he is tied into the Labour and union movement in Yarmouth. And the community centre he has run for nearly a decade provides a hub for immigrants from across Europe of several generations, whether they want language classes, boxing lessons, or simply food.
I like the Labour. I think the Labour must approach with the great people and the Britain that live day by day. I think that Miliband make a great mistake when try to avoid the unions, because the unions is the majority of people in England. You see, freedom, equality, and solidarity for everyone.
Mr Mendonça seems unfazed by UKIP's popularity in the area, however, and says he has not noticed a rise in anti-immigration feeling. Unlike other parts of the country, Yarmouth UKIP appears not to have made the issue a key part of its campaign. In the afternoon we spent with Mr Gray, neither he nor any of the voters he met brought the issue up. Instead, he wants to focus on local regeneration.
UKIP says it is targeting between 20 and 30 seats at the general election in May. Pollsters predict it's likely to win more like 5. But it's seats like this that could make the difference. Great Yarmouth isn't being contested by one of UKIP's stars. Thanet South, where its leader Nigel Farage is standing, is 200 miles further down the coast to the south. But it is in coastal towns like this, full of the kind of left-behind voter who have been flocking to the party over the last couple of years, that UKIP needs to show that it is able not just to challenge the incumbents, but to win. Kiran Stacey, Financial Times, Great Yarmouth.